The guest house. This being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honourably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice. Meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Rumi. Good morning, my name is Kirsty Dignam and I am actually here to look at the energies for this week. But I've needed to take some time out. I've just come back from an incredible workshop all about how we relate to ourselves, to each other, to our place here on the earth, and how we express that. And it's stirred up a few things within me. It's moved around a few aspects of my own views, my own judgments, my own beliefs, around myself as well. Like a guest house. It feels as if I have invited in many parts of myself to be seen and acknowledged. Not to be fixed or healed, but with a deeper message this morning. I found some of the emotions that rose this weekend really, really interesting and very, very familiar. Interesting in their familiarity, in not in the usual, oh, have I not done this type way, but in the deep knowing that they were here again because I hadn't quite got it. I hadn't quite got it. Whatever it may be, and it obviously is me. I hadn't quite understood why these visitors, why these sensations, these stories, these narratives wanted to return to my house. Why come to my house? There's lots of houses out there. There's lots of physical vessels, beings, people that could welcome you more warmly, that could feed you better, that may not even want to allow you to leave. Why come to my house? I'm quite happy with an empty home. And that was the biggest thing this morning. This video is much later. I've just said good morning, actually it's afternoon. It's much later than planned because it felt really important to acknowledge where I was at. Before I even look into what could potentially happen and the energies this week, where I was at. The impact that that has on anything I might project in regards to what I read into, because it doesn't matter how in tune we feel we are, it doesn't matter how, ascended, enlightened, whatever. It's a real work of art to acknowledge that you are just the house and not the visitors. To be aware that these sensations, these messages are going to come and go once they've done what they need to do. And I wasn't there this morning. This morning I was the house, I was the visitors, I was everything they were eating. This morning it was everything. It would become incredibly relatable, incredibly personal to me. Necessarily so. Because underneath it all, when I sat with this, when this poem popped back up into my head with Rumi, what I really felt was the understanding that these stories, these visitors, they didn't want to be thrown out. I knew that. They didn't want to be addressed as someone else's guest. That's an out there thing. That's a collective thing, which of course we all have these familiar guests. We all have these archetypes throughout our society, throughout our own psyche. We all feel pain, we all feel separation, we all feel, all of it. We can all relate. But actually these guests were in my home for my attention. They didn't want to be pushed outside. They didn't want to be belonging to somebody else, which I kind of knew as well. What I didn't realise underneath was these guests came bearing gifts. I knew that, but I hadn't for one iota accepted the gifts. They'd come bearing food. They'd come bearing celebrations. They'd come bearing medicine. Just like our stories, our narratives. And I think we can get very caught up in this belief that we have to heal, that we have to move forward, that we have to forgive what has happened to us, that we have to become separate from all of those sensations. Rather than integrate and embody them, we have to take them out of our very existence as if they didn't happen. And today, even though I'm aware of this, it came in, it integrated on a deeper level for me. That my own stories wanted to evolve. They wanted to stretch. They wanted to grow. They wanted to blossom. Not avoiding what had got them into my house, but within. They wanted to show me how much more they were, how much more I was. Not I'm more than my stories, but my stories are more than my own understanding of them. And that just felt like a real game changer this morning. And I share that because I do also feel the energies this week. There are a lot of situations that want to evolve. And the only way for that to actually happen is our recognition that it isn't about getting rid of them. It isn't about moving on. It isn't about removing them from our lives unless you feel that way drawn. But for some, it is more about, okay, what else does this story have? A story has many chapters, and it almost feels like a trepidation to turn the page to the next chapter out of loyalty to stories, out of fear, of knowing the medicine of the story is bittersweet. The love behind everything is almost harder to open ourselves up to than the familiarity of the pain of the story. So with that in mind, I am going to look into the energies this week. I ironically have my mother's glasses on, my late mother's glasses on today because I couldn't be bothered to walk back downstairs and get my own, and they actually work. They actually work, and it really feels like there's something in that this week to see through the eyes of the mother. But this is something I always try and do anyway, to see through all situations through the eyes of the unconditional love of the mother. Being aware of where that may cause rose-tinted glasses, being aware of where that may enable us rather than empower us. At the workshop this weekend, I was talking to an incredible person, Rumi, and she'd just done a workshop on oxytocin and whether or not it was the drug of our time. Oxytocin is incredible. Oxytocin will initiate or help childbirth, the love drug. It's there when we breastfeed, it's there when we orgasm, it's there when we deliver our children, it's there when we're feeling very much in love, and it's an amazing hormone. It's called the love drug for a reason, right? We can get really hooked on that feeling of love. And it's not to say that it isn't a powerful medicine. A mother will fall in love with a child the moment they are born, despite that child causing more pain than anything in their life, physically, statistically, scientifically, more pain than the human body has ever encountered. A mother will naturally fall in love with that child for the most part and is expected to do so because of this hormone. We can get really, really, really lost in the floatiness of that this week, in the falling almost in love with where we are and it becoming very comfortable, but also refusing to acknowledge that even love grows. Even love grows. You know, love, yes, we can start with that infatuation. We can start with that spark. We can start with that attraction. But love too grows if held in a nurturing environment, if allowed to expand. And this week it really feels quite important to examine where we may be restricting our stories, where we may be restricting the love, where we may be restricting, and that can come from many ways. That can come from demanding commitment when someone isn't ready, or refusing commitment even though you are, or, you know, even if you can be ready to commit but actually hold yourself back from fear, but your body could be telling you something completely different. You could be so ready to turn the page of a story but hold back because you don't believe you're ready. So an analogy of this, I mean, it's going to sort itself out, because an analogy of this is, what I'm seeing is childbirth. When you get to that point of not being able to hold back, that creation will come, that creation will be born. However, sometimes they can get stuck. Sometimes we can cause unnecessary trauma by fighting our bodies. And this week that really feels like key. Acknowledging our house, acknowledging the guests that are in there, really feeling into what is going on in our body before we externally say, well, that's never going to change. Well, that's not going to happen. Well, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Do we want it to? And there's no judgment there. Or do we feel ready to? You know, and if we don't, owning that and stepping back. Okay, that's not ready to change in me yet. That guest is still with me at the moment to show me whatever. There's no point me saying, you haven't got this guest in your house. You're not ready to commit to this relationship. You're not ready to express where you're at. You're not ready to initiate change when the guest is actually in you. A whole other level of awareness this week is trying to come through. Is there anything else to add to that? It feels important not to search, not to grasp, not to seek, to cling, to sit with whatever is coming through. Yeah. To know that any future energy that is read on, that any future plans, that any insights, that anything is based on the now, that everything is the now. To hold space for that before rushing ahead to try and change it. And why do we do that? Because it's fucking uncomfortable. But to be okay with that, to feel into what you need. What do you need when it's uncomfortable? Rather than kicking all the guests out, rather than not turning up to your own party, you know, expressing what you feel, rather than asking other people to take some of your guests, what do you need? What does your body need in order for you to be okay with this discomfort? And it could be that itself. Is it okay to be not okay? Really feeling into that. And how we feel about not being okay. I noticed this weekend I felt really shook up because I didn't like the conflict. I didn't like the obvious separations that I could feel. I didn't like the pain as a result of it. And I went through the usual trying to take it on, trying to say that it wasn't part of me, that it was external, but it was also within me, right? This conflict, this separation within me, and the discomfort that I felt. I didn't want to feel that. Of course, none of us want to feel pain. But if we can really go into and through it this week, it does feel like it's a game changer. It really does feel like it's a game changer. Okay, so I don't sense the urge to go over why we feel we need to go through pain or you know, what we can gain with our own endorphins and things like that, because that almost, I'm turning all the cards out the right way, that almost can distract us this week. What can I gain out of this? What am I going to gain out of this? Well, the moment we think, what am I going to gain out of this, we are already taking ourselves out of the situation. We're trying to see the future. She says, with the cards in her hand, we are trying to deem whether or not something is worth it. We are already putting our opinions, our views, our judgments onto a situation, and we are restricting it, right? We're not allowing it to be whatever it needs to be because we have taken our presence out of the situation. So really being aware of that this week. What can I gain out of this? Well, why do you feel you need to gain something out of where you are? Okay. Because if it is, you don't want to waste your time, or you're not feeling as if you're getting the same back, or whatever that situation may be, really going deeper into that. Okay, so what do you need to get back? How can you get that from yourself? From yourself. And 9 times out of 10, the answer is presence. 9 times out of 10, it's a deeper connection to where we are and what is going on. And that actually is the other thing that I felt this morning. A real underneath a yearning to really connect on a deeper level, not separate from our stories, not to get over our stories, not to remove our stories, but to bring our stories together into this huge library that is the human experience, and to make it a bestseller, to really bring every part together now, rather than sit and just be with our own tales, to really bring every part together as the story for the earth, as the story for mankind, as the story of our own evolution, rather than holding on to our individual chapters, hoping that they will be noticed more or bigger, or they had more clout or more suffering or more, whatever that more may be. Is it connecting you or disconnecting you to people? Whatever that chapter is that you're holding, is it part of a bigger story, or is it just your tale on your own? Really feeling into that this week. Okay. And the chances are, you know, it's not to say everyone goes through the same thing. I'm not disrespecting our experiences. I'm not disrespecting what we go through, what we endure, what we experience. But there is a high chance that there are many of us that have lived similar. And if we can really feel into the essence of that, we may just be able to search out those that have the same chapters, find our tribe, however you want to call it, rather than putting ourselves inside narratives that we don't belong. That's what I really felt quite a few times over the weekend, that I was repeating this pattern. That one wants to come out. Yeah, okay. That I was repeating this pattern of putting myself in situations I would get rejected from, so that I could repeat the story of rejection. Why? Because there was a medicine there. There was a deeper understanding there, an evolution of this story, a resilience that has been born from this rejection, and the beauty of knowing that the only energy I ever really truly belong to is myself. And as long as I'm authentic in that, then I'm abundant in who I am. The cards that came out, the Nine of Swords, that hurt. Yeah, really looking at where we are almost re-traumatizing ourselves, and any abundance that wants to come from that or not. Okay. So I'm using the Vision Quest Tarot this morning, and the reason I'm using that is I feel a real calling back to that energy, and a real need for me to look at all the stories that I keep initiating, to repeat this hidden shadow projection of my own, that I don't belong in that energy. And actually every cell in my body screams to me that I belong in the energy of ceremony, and it makes me quite emotional, connecting to the land and uniting with the plants and the stone people and all these teachings. So I've reconnected back to that energy with this reading, and I was just about to say this week, and you may find that there's a deeper longing within you now to re-establish a bond that you have with an aspect of yourself. But only if we can take the distractions out of all the times that we put ourselves where we might not feel like we belong. Not avoiding the energy that is calling us. This week really feels like key. Okay. Energy this week and how to best navigate it. I can sense a deeper questioning this week. Why? Why would you ask the energies this week and how to best navigate it? Finding your why behind what you do. Okay, so setting the intention to help anybody that is watching this video to best navigate whatever is going on with them by using the archetypal energies of the tarot. There we have the Knight of Cups. Sorry, the Knight of Pentacles. I say cups because he's got a bowl there, right? The Son of Earth. And the reason I say that is because the first thing that came to mind was the Grail, the Legends of the Grail, because it's something I'm reading at the moment by Tanishka, the Moon Woman. But the masculine, embracing the Grail, embracing the feminine energy within them. Within the tarot, the Knight of Cups is the energy that embodies that. However, it feels really important this week to recognise that it's not about our emotions as such. It's about the impact that has on our physical body and our own connection to each other and to the earth. So being acutely aware of the actions that we base on how well we can feel into what's going on. So if we can be aware that we're feeling fear, rather than rush out and externally point that out to others or blame others or buy things that perhaps we don't want, or, take from the land when we might not need to, whatever that may be, then we can recognise it was fear, that we can't eat our emotions, that we can't smoke them away, that we can't drink them away, that they will be back because they are a cycle for us to invite in, for us to welcome, to experience in a more grounded fashion, in a more healthy way. It does really feel important that we look at what we consume in our bodies this week, that we take of the fruits of the seasons we find ourselves in, so that we eat the vegetables and the fruits that are available based on the very places that we live, that we work in harmony with the earth, that we consume in harmony with the earth. But that is very important, that we go within to feel what it is we actually need, what it is that's actually going on here for ourselves. And we have the Wheel of Fortune at the bottom of the pack. That is the small change, the recognising the medicine wheel within ourselves first is going to bring the peace that we look for externally. Now, this isn't anything that we don't already know. So, okay, what I'm going to do is a soul reading. I'm not going to do the energies for the week. I'm going to do a soul reading where we are collectively on a soul level in regards to that, because it feels really important to acknowledge that rather than look into, oh, Monday I'm going to do such and such, Tuesday I'm going to do such and such. Now, I say that it's not downplaying that. I just have obviously disregarded that totally. So apologies to those that do those kind of readings, myself included. But right now, for me personally, the energy this week feels like it needs to be more on a embodied level. Where are we collectively on a soul level? That needs to be examined. Okay. So we have the Seven of Cups at the bottom of the pack, and emotionally there's a big excess going on here, which is leading to an indecision underneath who we are. I wouldn't say an existential crisis, but a real disconnection from our energy centers, a real disconnection from our emotions, a real disconnection from what source is to us. Now that could be the driving force behind why you do what you do. That could be religion, but a real disconnection from that, almost as a result of having too much of it, almost as a result of having it, you know. I saw a thing the other day, a post, someone was talking about authenticity and how many posts there are about authenticity on social media, to the point where it can make us question our own authenticity. Am I being authentic enough? Because actually, I'm not posting this, and I'm not doing this, and I'm not showing up in my authentic self. And everything is balanced, right? Everything is balanced. What we share, what we receive, everything is balanced. There are going to be times when you feel, yes, I can get out there, I can change the world. Hallelujah, I can save the world. And then there are times where you're going to feel like you want to go within. That is just as authentic. Authenticity is knowing what is going on for you, showing up for you, your connection to whatever it is you are experiencing, knowing you are the guest house to these emotions. Recognizing that importance. So yes, you might not be doing what so-and-so is doing down the road, and you know, you might feel exactly the same as what they're saying, and oh, maybe I should have shown up and done this, this and this. Did you feel like doing it? If not, for whatever reason, trusting that this week, so that we don't get bombarded with these different viewpoints of the same emotion, so that we don't get flooded with other people's understandings of what is going on for us. Okay, so on a soul level, okay, 2 for there. Wow, really, really interesting energies. Smack bam in the middle of the medicine wheel, the soul medicine wheel, we have temperance, we have integration. So a lot coming in here in regards to the very web that we are weaving and being responsible for whatever it is we are creating. And that always jars, right? That always jars right into the solar plexus. And what I would suggest is, if that has caused any kind of reaction inside you, any guess within that home of your body, welcome it. Why would I be jarred thinking that actually this is the story that I am weaving? Why would that trigger me? Why would that bring something up? Because it's about recognizing that the triggers, or rather attractions, the thing that happens outside that makes us go, oh, is a way of understanding yourself on a deeper level. It's a way of integrating another aspect of your own story, really bringing that in and into everything that you embody. So the other day, when I felt really uncomfortable with the separation, what I really sensed into was not only the separation within myself from what was occurring, but also the recognition that I didn't have to be part of that anymore. That my body was saying, that's enough. You're not needed in this energy. All you're doing is getting a rejection back from it. Stand your ground and be in your own. So this week, with the integration here, looking at the stories that want to release their self. So you see these little birds flying off. Looking at the stories that want to release their self, that want to now be free. And then keeping in mind that the other stories are evolving. They're becoming part of a beautiful piece of art, a beautiful piece of heart. Yeah, they are longing to be a tapestry of your life. If somebody didn't know you and read your obituary, or if somebody didn't know you and looked through photos of you, or even your social media in hundreds of years to come, if it still exists, what story would they see? What story are you seeing? What story are you integrating within yourself? Are there certain areas that are out of balance? I know for myself, definitely putting myself in energies where I'm not needed or wanted, so that I can go, oh, I was rejected again. Yes, absolutely, but there's more to my story than that. So really feeling into why you may be avoiding that other aspect of your story, with compassion, of course, but acknowledging that we are on a soul level being asked to weave a collective vision. Okay, so as we move into the north of the medicine wheel, As we move into the unknown, the realm of the ancestors, Siwa Kenti, the hummingbird, the journey that we all face mentally, we have the small medicine wheel here. How do we start to initiate these changes? By recognizing that the whole process is that. It is a process. It would be really great to pick the bits that we like, right? So I'm really good at mentally understanding things. Great, I'll just stay in my head. Well, actually, maybe not. So improving, but how I feel things and the impact that has on my body, and then the subsequent impact that has on how I understand things is the next stage of my own internal medicine wheel. So this week, really looking at what areas are calling for your attention, not to change, not to shift, not to get rid of, but to help you evolve whatever is occurring for you. You could be really comfortable in feeling the emotions of your past, but perhaps not so comfortable in changing how you react to them. You could be really comfortable in giving, but perhaps not so comfortable in receiving. Really looking this week where any slight adjustments may be required, particularly in the areas of the unknown. So what happens when you're not sure? What happens when something occurs in your life and you think, oh, I don't know how that feels, or oh, I don't know what to make of that, or oh, what path do I take? What happens in your own process? Where are you in that process? What do you need to continue that process so that you don't become stuck? So when a woman is giving birth, there is a natural reaction to want to pull back, particularly as change is imminent, particularly as the head is crowning. There's a natural reaction to want to pull back because it hurts. If we did that forever, the outcome wouldn't be good. Yeah, it wouldn't be good for anyone involved. So really recognizing this week that there's a natural contraction, there's a natural urge that's occurring now for these changes. Yes, it is different. That's change. That's what change means. Change is different. Yes, it may feel different. Yes, it may sound different. It may require different actions from you. That is change. So where are you in your process with that? As we move to the space of the East, we have our first minor arcana, and it's actually the Ten of Water, the Ten of Cups. It's fulfillment. So what is actually coming to light here is what fulfills us. How well we connect to that flow. The flow of the feminine, the flow of source, the flow of creativity, the flow of emotions, the flow of love, the flow of our stories, the flow of it all. How well are we actually connecting to that as guardians of these tales, these narratives, these expressions of human life? How well are we connecting to them? Are we allowing them to be shared? Are we allowing other people's perspectives to come in to build with this? Are we able to receive their stories also for the guests that they are within our own emotional makeup? Or do we do we just not want to know? Do we just not want to go there? Do we just not want our stories to be seen or felt or appreciated for the medicine that they can truly bring forth? This is the feminine. This is our emotions. This is our shadow. This is our physical body. This is our connection to the earth. This is how willing we are to receive, to be open to new conceptions, new creativity. Submerged in the emotions but not drowning. Aware there are clearer, higher frequency visions available. My cat calling. But carrying the vessel on top of our head, on top of our crown chakra here. I will wait for my cat to finish calling because she will call at the top of the stairs to let me know that she is calling. So an awareness there of our own divinity, our own wild energy calling out to us. Maybe it's not the stories that are uncomfortable. but our holding on to them that has become the discomfort that now is calling to be seen. Particularly with this container being held on top of our crown chakra, blocking that higher energy trying to come through. In regards to what will truly fulfill us now, we know that the pain of the story doesn't fulfill us. We know that the medicine behind it, the love behind it will. But it can be very, very uncomfortable opening up to that. Very uncomfortable opening up to that higher emotion that is trying to come through, that higher love that is trying to come through. Just waiting for my cat to walk down the stairs so that she can embody that energy. She can bring that energy down, further down into where she is. Oxytocin reminds me of the Ten of Cups, a beautiful drug that makes us love what is going on regardless, even childbirth. That encourages us to be open to that pain regardless. That is necessary for survival, for that child, for that relationship between the child and the mother. It feels as if that is shifting. To love not from a survival place, not from a necessity now, not to just accept our stories because what choice have we got, but to actually look at what part of it we want to carry forward. And that's a decision, it's a constant decision, and there's no judgment there. But really examining, as we move into the south, any healing now is going to come from joy. Any healing now is going to come from our ability to walk through everything that we've collected. Not to be tempted to collect more from it, but to almost compartmentalize, to witness the guests for what they are, that we aren't our emotions, that they are beautiful sensations that we are feeling, to create with, to collect, to put to one side, to sustain us as and when needed, but that we aren't our emotions. That if we want to get to that clarity, that fulfillment in the East, we must continue to keep walking forward. To pick an empty vessel now. To decide what it is we want to carry. And how do we do that? From joy. From joy now. Joy is going to make the healing a lot more able to transition. Able to transition. I was going to say easier. Joy doesn't make something easier. It doesn't downplay what has happened. It doesn't laugh it off in a ha ha ha, it doesn't matter. Joy is a very sacred emotion. Joy is not only the ability to find the beauty in something, because even that can be quite heavy. Joy is the middle ground. Joy is the middle ground. It is the ability to hold the pain of what has occurred, but also the hope of what could be. That can be overwhelming. So it is this week about recognizing that you don't hold all of the pain and all of the experience, but that real nub part in the middle. And you don't hold all of the hope for mankind completely, but the nub in the middle. You don't hold the pain of everything that has happened to everyone in similar situations, but your own. You don't hold the hope for humanity purely on your own. You hold your own hope. You become responsible for your pain and responsible for the hope. As we move into the space of the West from the collective soul, what we have here is actually two cards, and it is the bigger medicine wheel, so it is the world. I love this card because it's the only card that actually shows a human archetype up there with the other archetypes, up there with the jaguar or the cougar, up there with the buffalo, up there with the eagle. It shows the human. In the West, and I really feel that in my chest, it is about acknowledging the impact that we have as a species. Not in an egotistical way, but in a very sacredly humble, oh my goodness. So I'm being asked to actually integrate this so that we can all weave something here, something beautiful. I'm not just being asked to get over something, I'm being asked to experience this, to embody this, to find my own reactions to this and the medicine that is in there, the emotions that are in there, and asked to put that drop of me into the container that we all hold for the changes that we're looking for. I was going to say searching for, and it's not searching, it's look in. We're not searching, we look in this week to recognise our role and how beautiful that actually is. Smack bam in the centre we have the serpent, and the serpent is around the earth here. So the serpent is medicine, the serpent is the feminine, the serpent is the ability, thank you, to shed our stories, the way the serpent sheds her skin with ease and grace. Now that is not to say that the stories aren't painful. That is not to say that they didn't happen. That is not to discredit someone's experience. But that is to say that you have the ability to release them. That you have the right to do so with ease and grace. That anything that is standing in the way of that, particularly within yourself, is asking to be seen for the medicine that it brings, the empowerment that it brings, the knowing that actually I can do this. And it could be an ongoing, constant decision. You know, particularly a lot of the reasons we hold on to pain, and this could trigger some people, is an addictive circumstance. We're used to it. And I feel that in my chest. I don't want to be used to pain, but I'm used to pain. And I can hold on to that because it's an area I know. It's a comforter almost. But really recognising this week that there is more to us than our pain, that we do have permission to release with ease and grace, that it is down to us in a continual way. That's what I was going to say. Pain can become an addiction, and when we have an addiction, for all those that have cravings, right? I gave up smoking 18 months ago, and to this day I'm struggling still. I'm still craving, of course I am. I did it from such a young age. It's habitual for me, just like pain, it's habitual. But the cravings are changing. When I first gave up smoking, it was constant. I had to constantly be aware of my thoughts, constantly be aware of my body, constantly be aware of the fact I was trying to find a cigarette in the fridge and it wasn't there, or I was picking an argument so that I could go and have a cigarette, and constantly aware of this pain that the fag would get rid of, right? That it would just ease. Right? Oh, the stories I had for that. It connected me to the earth. Tobacco was a sacred herb. Oh, you name it, I had them. And that's not to say that they're not relevant if they're your stories, but for me, they weren't relevant. For me, they were not excuses, but reasons to continue trying to avoid the pain. As the months have gone on, the cravings have got less. They have changed. So too will we when we shed our stories. At first we may find that we're shedding them all the time, that we think, oh gosh, I've got through that thought, oh my God, it's back again, oh my God, it's back again, oh my God, I'm feeling this, oh my God, and it may be constant at first, and we may have that reflected back to us, particularly when we think we've got it. You know, we may have the world say, actually, have you? Use this as an opportunity to look at where you are in regards to that story, where you are in regards to that pain, where you are in regards to what it is you are still integrating, not in a judgment way, but how well are you integrating that? Have you kept it in balance? Is it all story or medicine? Because we can do that too, right? The oxytocin can be so, we just want to feel good, that we don't want to go there to the story, and when it comes up, no, we're going to do whatever it takes to make us feel good. Yeah, and for some that can be the story because it's familiar. For some it can be avoiding the story completely. The emphasis this week as we go into the West on a soul level collectively is that there are big changes in regards to us and how we see ourselves in the world. because it is the wild card, the big medicine wheel, and it is about seeing ourselves as part of the changes we are looking for, rather than seeing everything from a place of black. No, it's not even seeing everything, it's seeing ourselves from a place of black. When we see ourselves unable to shed our stories, when we see ourselves defined by what has happened to us, when we see ourselves, when we embody purely that side of it, we are going to find ourselves lacking, and we are going to find the world outside of us lacking. So what do we need? What do we need to move from the 5 of Pentacles, the 5 of Earth, that insecure place where we are literally feeding from remnants now, that we know are not going to sustain us individually and collectively? This is not going to last. We must look at different things to feed from. What is going to help us do that? Well, I was very tempted to pull another card, and I tried to move closer and I can't, my chair won't let me. So it's kind of like I can't pull out any information and I can't move right now. I need to feel into what is going on and what is actually in front of me. Look at what is in front of us. So what is in front of me? I have 1, 2, 3 major arcanas. Beautiful, beautiful creative energy here. And I was going to put them into order, but actually no. I have 3 major arcanas, and on the right side or left side, on one side I have the world card, the big medicine wheel. On the other side I have the small medicine wheel, and smack bam in the middle I have integration, which is temperance. And it really doesn't matter what side. It really doesn't matter what side they're on. It doesn't matter about the masculine and the feminine. It doesn't matter about this separation of what angle are they coming from. Change is change, and it's the age old. When we change ourselves, we change things around us. But knowing that we don't have to do anything, we just need to integrate where we are. Recognizing the changes that have occurred, including our own narrative, integrate what is going on for us here. What are we weaving? What are we creating in our everyday actions? And if we don't have everyday actions, perhaps finding some. So what I really hear is the saying, devil makes work for idle hands, particularly with trauma, particularly with experiences that are difficult to go through. It can be really hard to sit still and be in them. So find a way of utilizing that energy. Create, write, dance, go for a walk. Nature has surrounded you with everything that you need. Breathe. There are tools there. Find some old tools. Fire ceremony. Yeah, or meditation, or making sand paintings, or, investigate, stone blowing. There are so many different tools out there. Investigate what is around you to help you integrate. Investigate to integrate. Oh, I like that. With curiosity. Because we then have 3, well, we have 1 to one side, 4. We'll have a look at that. But in the actual soul reading, we have 3 minor arcanas. So the creative energy is, yes, coming from the fates around us, but also will be matched by our actions. And the cards that we have are the 5 of Pentacles and the 9 and 10 of Cups. Recognizing that lack may have led to joy at one point. Now I can relate to that. Oh, look at me, I'm a survivor. I'm a warrior. I got through this, I got through that, and it may have led to joy and to an extent a certain amount of fulfillment. Turning that on its head and seeing how fulfillment and joy can actually help with the sensation of lack. And picking what angle you want to take it from. For some people, I have a character called the Rocky Balboa, and the Rocky Balboa sometimes helps me. When I'm really, really stuck, when I'm really struggling, that, I need to get on and do this, that really, really helps me. And by the end of it, I feel joyful in what I've completed, and I feel fulfilled in being able to work with this energy in a way that is constructive for me. There are other times where I feel really zoned out, really relaxed, really joyful, and then whatever comes up I'm good with. And it depends on where I am in my own cycles. It depends on where I am in my own stages of creation. Really fine-tuning that this week, really looking at the balance, because that is where we have the Seven of Water, that excess. We do still have two cups there. How we connect to our emotions, how we connect to source, how we connect to our own flow and our own stories. How do we connect to them? Do we enjoy reading them? Do we want to turn the page? Do we use them to hold ourselves back? Do we use them to help us move forward? Really, really looking into that this week. Okay, so I'm going to pull one card from the pack. Overall, we're not going to do a reading individually for the days. So we have the Page of Cups here, the Daughter of Water, again recognising our flows, how we connect to the feminine, because when we're connecting to our stories, we're connecting to the physical experiences of what it is to be alive, aka the feminine. The feminine is the body, it is the earth, it is all those tangible things. So how well do we flow with them? How well do we flow with the feminine within us, male and female? Yeah, because it's that is actually developing the Hierophant, or in this deck, the Shaman. It is that is developing our ability to see different potentials, to create different worlds, to really acknowledge and step into that archetype now. That it's not just about the lessons, it's not just about the teachings, it's about both of them together in what we do with them, what we take responsibility for, the very vision that we create. The truth of the matter is, for me personally, for anyone that is willing to connect to nature out there, there's been a big season change. There has been a big shift, and I can feel that things want to be evolving, going through to the next stage. What do you feel when you stand out in the earth? Not what you think, not what you have heard, not what you have experienced being reflected back to you. What do you feel in regards to your connection to the earth out there? Because that's really, really important this week. Have the most wonderful week. Allow things to flow. Yeah, take care.